everyone. Welcome to 1851 Franchise. Today I am joined by Tom Spadea from Spadea Law. How are you, Tom?
Great. How you doing, Luca?
I'm doing pretty good. To start, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe what drew you to the franchise law field?
Yeah. Um, I love franchising. I mean, as you know, our clients know, it's really all we do. So I've had the firm for 10 years now. We're actually approaching our 10-year anniversary. And before I was an attorney, I sold franchises. So I grew up in a entrepreneurial family. My grandfather had a small business. My dad had a small business. I was always a small business partner in some different things. And then I got into the franchising world by actually helping doing resales on restaurants and small companies. And then I became a franchise broker. So I guess my claim to fame is that I paid to law school. I paid for law school at night while selling franchises during the day. And I love it. I love being on this side of it, and it's great. We have great clients, and so I've been doing franchising for 20 plus years now, and half of that as a lawyer, and half of it as an owner and a franchise development person.
Love it. Awesome. So with all your experience, I'd be interested to hear your answer for the next question here. What do you think is the biggest legal hurdle facing the franchising industry in 2021/2022?
I think the biggest legal hurdle is just making sure that you have your ducks in a row. I mean, as most franchisors are going on a journey, especially the emerging brands that we play in, about going towards private equity, possibly thinking about an exit. So I think the biggest legal hurdle is just staying up to date, having all your documents, having all your ducks in a row, so to speak. And, I don't think there's anything emerging or new. There's just always tweaks. So I think just being aware of what's coming around the corner and keeping up your state registrations, keeping up your FDD, making sure that your franchisees are happy, and making sure that you're building your whole business on a solid foundation is what's always there. So I think the biggest hurdle for 21, 22 is the same as it's always been. Just making sure that your legal structure is not an impediment to your growth or to your exit, because at the end of the day, franchising is it's mailbox money based on your intellectual property. And if your contracts aren't in order, and if you have some latent defects in the file based on bad FDDs or bad state registrations, that stuff isn't going to really hurt you until down the road. So you just got to be aware of that and get with the right partners to help put that stuff in order.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, kind of building off that, the next question here is what is the most common mistake you see franchise brands making from a legal perspective?
I think the most common mistake is not crossing their T's and dotting their I's. It's one thing to have great documents, but it's almost ironic. It's like the franchise people are process oriented. They sell their processes to their franchisees, and many franchisors don't really have a buttoned up process for how they're going to have their legal documents. I mean, we've done some due diligence for private equity brands buying small brands, and then we go in and they had great franchise law firms. They had great documents, a great FDD, a well thought out franchise agreement. But then you get into the file, the receipt pages aren't signed, the exhibits aren't signed, maybe it's a lease and they never got the conditional assignment of lease signed, and just all these little nits and gnats that aren't there. And I'll tell you, your suitor, or if you have a problem and you're in a fight with a franchisee or someone's buying your system, those T's and I's, they have to be crossed and dotted, because that is going to have it. So I think the biggest mistake, most systems that when we take over the client, we do a deep dive, kind of do a pre-due diligence. I don't think we've ever really seen it perfectly buttoned up. So I think the biggest mistake is not recognizing that it's not just the document. It's not just how good your contract is, but it's how well executed it is, how well you have that process down pat. And so that people lose sight of that. They lose sight of just how important that is. So I think from a legal perspective, that is by far the most common mistake, is they don't get the process right.
Right. Definitely. On the franchisee side, the next question here, what is one thing you think every prospective franchisee should know before joining a specific franchise brand?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think they have to know what the culture of the brand is like. They have to talk to other franchisees in the system. You're making a quantitative analysis, but really don't fool yourself by the numbers. You're making a qualitative decision. You are joining a group, you are joining a culture, an ecosystem. The franchisor is going to hold most of the cards, so to speak, in terms of the leverage. And that's not necessarily bad. You should beware of any system that is too weak. Beware of any system that gives in on all of your demands, because your investment is dependent on how successful your neighbors are and how successful the whole system grows. The strongest franchise systems have the strongest brand standards, and they enforce it the most rigorously. And that's not necessarily bad for an individual franchisee. So I think what every prospective franchisee should know is that they are joining a culture. Is this a culture that they feel they can find success in? Can they identify with the top performers in that franchise system? And a lawyer's not going to tell you that. A franchise consultant's not going to tell you that. A franchise salesperson's not going to tell you that. They have to be brutally honest with themselves. If they have the skill set, the background, the temperament to match and be a part of that team, because you are part of a team as a franchisee. And if you resist that and you think, oh, we can do it better, don't do it. Don't do the deal. You can always get out of it. Franchisor, it's hard for them to get out of it. So that's what I tell every franchisee. You got to go in knowing, is this a brand and a culture that you're going to be proud of, that you want to be a part of, that you're going to embrace it? And if that answer is yes, then you're on the way. And by the way, the best way to find that information out is pick up the phone, get in your car, go visit other franchisees, sit down face to face and meet them and learn from them and ask them what it's like to be a franchisee. Not how much money they make, but what is it like? Do they like these people? Is this a family that you want to join? That would be my advice.
Yeah, very well said. Awesome. The last question I have here, in general, what would you say you love most about working with franchises?
I love working with entrepreneurs. I mean, it's just great. I think I identify with them. I think entrepreneurs, both franchisors, franchisees, everybody who, it's like dealing with nature. If you don't, if you don't do it right, the feedback is immediate. If you don't take care of your clients, if you don't take care of your franchisees, if you don't really do what you need to do and uphold that, there's no excuses. And I think that's what I love about franchising. It's what I love about small business, is that you get individuals who are fearless, who are taking, a pretty big risk. And they're not only taking a financial risk, a lot of them are, borrowing money and putting their home up. They're also taking an emotional risk. It's their ego on the line. They've staked their claim that they're going to be successful. And I respect that. I admire it. I enjoy being able to do our part and coach and help and give them the legal structure. As the law firm, we give the guardrails and we let those entrepreneurs be really, really creative and run fast, but we give them the guardrails so they don't get themselves hurt. But it's that fearless nature that is, we're always trying to just kind of stay in there and keep them organized. It's what I love. I get a rush. I love talking with our clients. I love our clients. I mean, they're great human beings, and I just never tire of hearing those stories and learning from them and helping take what I learned from them to put into our business as a law firm. So it's what I love. I love the people.
Great way to end it. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today, Tom.
No problem. I enjoyed it. Thanks, Luca. Anytime.